Welcome to the Catastrophic Comeback Podcast with American injury lawyer Clarke Speaks, helping you find hope, purpose, and joy after a catastrophic injury.
Hi, and welcome back to Catastrophic Comeback. I want to talk to you for a few minutes about my three takeaways from my conversation with Parker Byrd. What an incredible story. What an incredible young man. There was a lot of things that really struck me about my conversation with him, but I'll try to limit it to three. The first thing that strikes me about my conversation with Parker Byrd is, even though he is a young man, 18, 19 years old, very goal-focused, very goal-oriented. And the reason I think that's significant is because if you'll remember when he described his baseball career, he played baseball ever since he can remember, and he was good at it, and he worked at it, and he got better and better and better. And his goal was to play in Major League Baseball. His goal was to, play for a Division I program, do well, and eventually play Major League Baseball. And he was really focused on that goal, so much so that even by the time he was a freshman in high school, he had an offer to play D1 baseball at East Carolina, which is a perennial top 20, top 15, top 10 school, and very much in the hunt for a national championship this year and in other previous years. So for him to be that good at baseball at that early an age, as a ninth grader, enough to be able to get an offer like that is pretty remarkable. And that says something about his drive, his motivation, his mindset, his focus, and his desire to set and accomplish a particular goal. And I think that's interesting. The thing that I think that's also interesting is this tragedy took place not that long ago. It was not you're not talking about years and years and years ago. This was a relatively recent thing. And on a dime, he switches, he changes, and that goal, instead of being playing Major League Baseball, he realizes in a very short period of time that that's probably not realistic. But instead, now, after talking to his mom and dad, he decides there's never been a D1 player with an artificial leg. So my goal now is to be the first player in Division I history to play with an artificial leg. And just like that, he changes his goal from Major League Baseball to being the first D1 player, and he focuses his attention on that and his rehab on that. And that gives him the direction and the focus that he needs, partially because that's who he is. He's a goal-oriented person. But I think all of us could learn from that. When we're working through some kind of a difficult situation, a tragic situation, what I think we need to do is to set a goal for us, a reasonable goal under the circumstances, goals are generally going to be, specific and measurable and time-bound and those kinds of things, reasonable, achievable. And he said something that met all those criteria, and then he worked very hard to try to achieve that goal. And I thought that was interesting, and that seemed to help him through his recovery process. The second thing that I thought was really interesting about what Parker said was his philosophy on improving or getting better, overcoming this adversity, this obstacle that it was in his life. He talked about getting 1% better every day, and you don't have to get all the way better in the course of a day, but you just got to get a little bit better every day. And I thought that was a really interesting perspective for him to have. And I imagine that's probably the way that he's approached his athletic career even up until now. So these same lessons that have served him well to get him to the point where he got this opportunity, this scholarship to play baseball at a really, really good program. Also, he just took those same principles and applied them to this sort of tragedy and in order to overcome the obstacles that were in front of him and to achieve the goal that he had. I thought that was really interesting. The third thing that I thought was really interesting about my conversation with him is he describes a series of events, right, that led to this tragedy. He describes, A happened, and then B happened, and then C happened, and then D happened, and for example, he says it's late in the summer before baseball is supposed to start for the year. He says they have a late recruit that comes in to join them, and then the guy keeps inviting them to go do this activity on the lake or the river and to ski and tube and all this, and it sounds great, but they just couldn't fit it in. And then the last weekend, they're able to fit it in. He goes out Friday, has a great time, supposed to go back Saturday to help somebody move. They cancel, so he has another day. They had such a good time, they're going to go back and do it again. This time the driver says, hey, we're going to go a little quicker and try to throw you guys off sooner. They do throw them off sooner. The guys are trying to get back into the boat. Somebody accidentally puts the boat in reverse or gets knocked in reverse or something. And then one of the guys on the boat had a similar experience previously, and so he knew sort of what to do. Jumps in the boat immediately, gets Parker out of the water immediately, uses his shirt to help stop the blood flow and stop as a tourniquet. They try to wave first boat. They try to wave down. They do wave them down, and the people say, "Hey, we'd love to help, but we can't because we have kids on the boat, and this is a frightening, scary scene, and we think the kids will be traumatized. Here's a first aid kit." And then the second boat that comes along, the only reason they come back in the first place and are in that area in the first place is because there is a argument between one of the couples. One of the couples, one of the people that's on that second boat happens to be a nurse. She's able to use the equipment on the boat to help Parker and with tourniquets and those kinds of things. They get him immediately back to the marina. There's an ambulance waiting. The ambulance goes to the local hospital. The helicopter's there, takes him back to the regional medical hospital at East Carolina, and what an incredible story. But here's the thing that I think was interesting about that. When he described that series of events, he connected all those dots. You could very easily connect those dots to be like, man, I could have just been somewhere else. I could have been moving that furniture. I could have, and he could have said, this never would have happened. I'm so unlucky and I'm so disfavored that this never would have happened. If only, this kid didn't come to the team late, or if only we weren't able to go that weekend, or if only we had to move that furniture, or if only one of the other kids was on the boat was on that tube at that moment in time, or if only the boat hadn't been knocked into reverse, or if only he could have very easily connected the dots to be like, if this had never happened, there's one tiny little link in this chain had been different, this never would have happened to me. That's not how he looked at it at all. Instead, what he did was he connected different facts in a different way to construct a very positive, beneficial outcome for himself. And so what he says is, the first boat couldn't help, but the second boat stopped. I mean, it could help. And on the second boat, it just happened that they had been in an argument. And on the second boat, it just happened that she was she was a nurse. And it just happened that the guy on the boat with him, his friend, had been in a similar situation previously and knew what to do. And it just happened that they were able to get back to the marina. It just happened that they were able to get to the ambulance and to the helicopter so he connected all those dots in such a way as to be able to look back at this and go, look at all the places where I was fortunate. Look at all the places where I was blessed. Look at all the places where I benefit from this unusual set of circumstances. That is mindset. That is a person who has approached a situation, and instead of looking at a difficult situation through a lens of, why me? Which I think it'd be fair for anybody to do under those circumstances. Why me? That's not how he looks at it. At least he doesn't seem to be. Maybe previously he had those thoughts. I think everybody would. But this is not a very, very long time ago, and he seemed to have a very positive energy and a very grateful mindset to how fortunate was I? How blessed was I? And that's one of the things that we see in people who really thrive after something like this. If we look back at Colin, one of the people that is on this show, and lots of the different people that are on this program who have really thrived after a tragedy and after a terrible situation. One thing that we see in common is that mindset that they have where they are looking at things from a positive perspective, looking at those things from an opportunistic perspective, looking at them from just a perspective of gratitude. Yes, this thing happened, but look how much worse it could have been, and look how these things lined up in such a way as to give me the best possible outcome under the circumstances. So I think that gratitude mindset is critical to having a successful outcome after something like this. It may be easier in certain circumstances, but it's something that I think we all have to do, is to try to find the things to be grateful for under adverse circumstances. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it.